unfortunate incident we're told happened today, but we'll be giving you more details of this very sad story hitting Ghanaians at this critical time, especially a few days to elections, about 25 days or so. The sad incident we're told happened today. We'll be speaking to persons in the known of this matter, who he was, his legacy, among others. Godfred.
Yes, Vivian.
Very, very sad story. What do we know so far?
A very sad story, Vivian. About an hour ago, we started picking up inkling that the former president of the Republic, John Rawlings, had passed away. We put our sources out. We made a couple of phone calls and eventually did get confirmation that indeed he had passed away. And very, very sad day. A man, one would say, divided opinions, but what cannot be debated is the fact that he's a huge part of the political and military history of this country. He's a man considered to be one of the main architects of the Fourth Republic that we are in. Perhaps one of the single most popular politicians in terms of grassroots popularity that we have seen in the annals of Ghana's politics. A colossus of Ghana's politics, whichever way you look at it, and we will leave that for another day, but it is a significant loss to the country. He saw the country through difficult times, irrespective of what you thought of his political ideologies. This was a man who from 1979 up until 2001 was the word in Ghana when it came down to politics. And so huge loss. Vivian, our condolences to his family. Nana Ajiman Kunudwa Rawlings, she's been by his side from day one. 5 kids, one who is currently a member of parliament in this particular constituency, Zaneto Rawlings. Our hearts go out to the entire family and also to the NDC.
You're tearing up. In a bit, we'll go over to his house at Rich. We'll also go to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where we're told he passed, and see what is happening in these two places as well. And then later, we'll go to his house also at around Adrigano, also pick the sentiments around there. We will try to get his family. Of course, they are mourning now, so I'm sure we all understand it's difficult to get them to speak. We'll be trying to get them. And then persons that he was close to, as well as the NDC being the founder of that party as well, and others who matter on this case. But Godfred, we don't know really what happened to him. You were telling me earlier that we had picked up reports that he was ill. Is that what it was?
Yes, those were the reports that we have received so far, none confirmed yet. But he had been in the news recently and he looked strong, which is why this would come as a shock to most people.
So he just buried his mom?
Yes, he just buried his mother. There was a state funeral at the forecourt of the State House, and then they later went to the hometown. And he was upstanding as usual. The man who never really lost his military posture, even after he went into retirement and became a political leader rather than a military leader. We saw him during the news and all that. He looked fine. So it has taken people by shock that we would hear this particular news. And when we're making the calls and the confirmation call for us, I was with one of our producers when he made the call, and Vivian, it was the tears that confirmed it for us because he just called back and started weeping. So it's a really, really sad day.
I mean, everybody here, you yourself, you've cried, I've cried, Bernardo's cried. We've all cried. You love him for who he is. He's been controversial on certain issues. The party himself, I've had to deal with him on a number. But, in our age group, the 80s clique, this is the first person really we experienced and all that.
I have a South African friend called Tabu Leshilo. For many years, he was the political editor of the Sowetan, one of the largest newspapers in South Africa. His nickname is Junior Jesus Rawlings. He says, as a young man, covering politics in South Africa, he just found some kind of affinity towards him, so he loved him. And again, the name that he was given, that particular nickname, tells you during that era that he came out first, from the 79 era right up to when he gave up power and then came back again for 1981 all the way through. People saw him as the messiah, the rescuer of sorts. And again, I do say that history always judges people on two sides. So there'll be those who look at it positively and negatively. There'll be time enough for that kind of analysis once we enter it. But again, you cannot debate the fact that when he came out, we had not seen that level of popularity in a young politician post Kwame Nkrumah, if I dare say so. The kind of organization, the kind of love that the common man had for Kwame Nkrumah later on was the kind of love you would see. And again, subject to interpretation of that, because one would also say that over a period of time, some of his actions, his decisions and policies. But one thing you could not deny was this was a man who had love for Ghana. Either way you look at it, that is one thing. As to whether the love led him to make good decisions, bad decisions, popular decisions, unpopular decisions, Vivian, what could not be denied was the man had love for his country and always wanted to find ways of putting Ghana out there. And sometimes once we start having this conversation, it's the little stories. I interviewed Azuma Nelson. I'll tell you the story. And Azuma said they were preparing for the World Military Games at the time. Jerry Rawlings was still military leader, but he was also self-appointed team manager. And Azuma Nelson told me that after training, they will be shocked to come back and the head of state will be sweeping their room. The head of state.
Rawlings will be sweeping.
Will be sweeping where they will sleep. They the boxes. And we're like, hey, So such was the man. There were days where he could come down to your level, and there were days where he looked larger than life. Because you met him and you'd be like, hey, who is this guy that,
and I'm looking at? I mean, that charisma that caught everybody. Just the funeral when he buried his mom, the crowds that he drew and all that in Accra and his hometown and all that charisma was great.
You're either born with it or you're born without it. And this charisma that you talk about, like I said, there are a lot of people who necessarily did not like Jerry Rawlings and his politics. What, again, very few people deny was his presence. I met him for the first time in the year 2000.
Okay.
He came to Prempeh College to deliver the speech and prize, to deliver the main speech at our speech and prize giving day. And when he got out of the car, this is Kumasi, everybody knows what Kumasi means when it comes to politics. Everybody was like, this is the president. He looked the part of the president. If being a president was a matter of just showing off, a lot of Ghanaians would be proud to say, that is my president, just on the face of who he was and how he looked and how he could fill a room. Okay, and that was the kind of person he was for that generation coming up. Over the past few years, one would say that his popularity was still there, but politically his power had waned a bit, looking at how the party he helped found had moved on from him, how his influence was no longer there. But once again, I will say that you cannot talk about what the past 35, 40 years of Ghana's political history without talking about Jerry Rawlings. This was the man who ruled the country for 26 plus years. So a huge chunk of our history today has passed away with Jerry Rawlings.
So if you're just tuning into City 97.3 FM, the sad news we have today is ex-president Jerry John Rawlings has died. We're told he died this Thursday at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We'll be getting you more details on that. But let's go to the machines and give you a bit of some sound on this very great president.
In fact, the most offensive administration desecrated the Kwame Nkrumah mausoleum and rendered it a sheer family cemetery. Ladies and gentlemen.
Bad news. Omar Sanda, if you can hear me, what can you tell us from his Ridge residence?
Yes, indeed.
Marsanda.
Which we have confirmed from multiple sources within government, within the NDC, and of course his official residence here in Accra and at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. The information sadly is that he passed on at the cardiothoracic unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Now the information we have is that since he laid his mother to rest, he had asked all staff of his office to go on a leave of a sort. So the Rawlings official or office that read has actually not been active over the past few weeks or so. All staff here have been on leave, and indeed when you get to the gate here, the military people would not let you go in unless you have a purpose. Indeed, a lot of his staffers are not around. The information is that he has been battling over the past week at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, but sadly passed on this morning. I'm standing at the front of the gate at the ridge.
Hello, Sanda. Marisanda.
Have started moving in here. Vehicles have started moving in here, and people are parking their vehicles and trying to negotiate their way with the military men who are manning the force with the hope of getting into the official residence. Let me also say that vehicles that are actually belonging to this office already, or people who have been working here, have been moving. I can see a lot of painted V8 cars drive through, and I can only imagine that these would be persons either in high authority in the National Democratic Congress or the governing NPP. Of course, you know, as a statesman, the information has to go as far as the Jubilee House, and we also have multiple sources from the government side that the information has been delivered to the president of the land. I have gone through the NDC headquarters at Adabraka before arriving here, and the mood there is a somber one, although they were still confirming as of the time I passed the evidence.
All right, Marsanda, we'll keep you there and then get back to you in a few minutes and see whether you'll be able to
see President Ndo is paying a one-day visit to President Akufo-Addo as ECOWAS chair on recent development in Mali. And so when this news came, you could see among, the two leaders and the faces of the ministers of state who are present here that indeed something really, really tragic had happened. Officially, it has not been communicated to the presidency yet. We do not have that particular information. But as President of the Republic, I'm very well aware that, some of these things will definitely pass through his doors before anything is announced. So I can tell you that indeed the president is yet to be communicated on this matter, but he has said that indeed the former president is no more. And the other ministers who are here meeting the Malian delegation are all also, very sad about the situation. You look at their demeanor and the facial expressions, it tells me that indeed there's something really wrong. There's a rumor going on here at the Jubilee House. You need to one or two people standing, and then there's a Rawlings issue they are discussing. So here at the Jubilee House, though it has not officially been confirmed, the president, I am reliably informed, is aware of the situation.
What has his demeanor been as well? Is he still in those meetings? And if you've seen him following about an hour of this story circulating around, what his demeanor has been?
The president that we know, when foreign visitors or foreign heads of state are visiting, you see him, bubbly, hyper all over. But this time round is more or less like a solemn, sort of situation. Even though he's exchanging pleasantries and speaking to the visiting Malian leader, the president we know when foreign leaders visiting is not the same president we are seeing today. It tells you that indeed the news of the death of the former president has really, really got into him. And you know very well that the two of them are very, very close. Very, very close in recent times. I remember some time back, the former president came here to the Jubilee House to have an unofficial meeting with the president. The president also visited him in his house. When recently, the former president, Malafat, the president was at the residence of the former president at Ridge, exchanging pleasantries, visiting and told him how government was going to help with arrangements as far as the burial was concerned. So it has come to him as a personal shock because of the relationship the two people have. So his demeanor, has changed. You could tell that indeed there's something really wrong with him.
All right, Sami Rafi, thank you very much. We'll return to you. Hopefully by then the president